Welcome to my channel, ketomealsandrecipes.com. Before beginning, I would like to thank everyone who responded to my question in my previous video, where I asked, what flavor of gelato would you like me to make? And in response, today I'm going to show you one of the flavors that was recommended, my Italian lemon gelato, which by the way is based on an original 1890 Italian gelato recipe. This recipe is also amazing because you will have the correct lemony and tangy flavor, a nice density and texture, and a velvety mouthfeel and scoopability. But I have adapted this particular recipe to be made at home and to be made sugar-free, and therefore some of the ingredients have been modified. But I assure you the flavor is fantastic. I also want to mention that since we're making this gelato at home, I have modified the recipe to include a very inexpensive and easily available stabilizer, which improves the texture and how slowly it will melt, even if thawed for a second serving. I'm really proud of this recipe because I think it's the closest I have ever come or ever tasted anywhere other than in Italy, the true lemon gelato flavor. If you like my channel and this recipe, I would really appreciate it if you would support my channel by watching the entire video all the way through, and also do check out the end links for more tasty treat ideas. For this lemon gelato recipe, the macronutrient ratio is 1.7 to 1, with 4.5 grams of total carbs, 0.1 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 4.4 grams of net carbs per 80 grams, or what would be considered a 3-scoop serving. Although this gelato can be made as a no machine version, I'm not going to repeat all of that information, and if you would like to make it as a no machine, please refer to my Italian strawberry gelato video. The link for that video and anything else of importance that I mentioned, including the written recipe, are all available in the description box. So please go down there to check things out. However, if you love ice cream and gelato and frozen treats in general, you may want to consider getting an ice cream machine. There are two basic types, one with a built-in compressor, such as my Breville Smart Scoop. These are a little bit on the pricey side, or alternatively there are machines that do not have a compressor, such as the Cuisinart versions, and you can find several good models under $100. Now let's get started. The first and very important point I would like to emphasize is, in order to get the freshest and cleanest lemon flavor, use fresh lemons. And please do not use bottled lemon juice. You'll never get the same flavor. And one of the first things I do is I zest about 3 of my lemons, because I'm going to be using the zest to enhance the flavor if you want that really wonderful fresh lemon tartness and taste. And of course, you have to squeeze the lemons to get the right quantity of lemon juice for the recipe. Now, one thing that I'm doing in this video, and just for fun, I'm going to clean out 2 of the halves of the squeezed out lemon, peel out all the internal stuff, and I'm going to use them as decorative serving bowls. I'll show you that later. Although I had intended to make this a no custard recipe, I changed my mind, and I'm going to make the custard by first pouring my homogenized milk, then the heavy whipping cream, and adding my sweetener to my saucepan. I often get asked what kind of sweetener I like. I prefer to use a monk fruit erythritol blend, or on occasion a birch xylitol sweetener. And that's because these 2 types of sweeteners have no aftertaste, and since most of my family is non-keto, I want them to enjoy the ice cream, and with these 2 types of sweeteners, there's no aftertaste, and they can't tell that it's a non-sugar sweetener, which is the goal. Now place a saucepan on your stovetop, which is set to medium-low, and I almost forgot, and also toss in all of the lemon zest, and cook for 10 to 15 minutes at a very light simmer. Cooking over low heat and over a long period of time is required because you're not only heating the milk, but you're also melting the sweetener into the milk, and this is important to prevent crystallization of the gelato later on. And while my milk is heating, I have enough time to first get my mixing bowl and combine the egg yolks and milk powder. And using a hand whisk, Combine these two ingredients until you see that the yolk is pale yellow. As you can see, at this stage, the mixture is very thick and clumpy. But that's how it's supposed to be, so no worries. I have mentioned before, but you may still be wondering why milk powder. This is an adaptation I have incorporated because it's an easy and affordable stabilizer for gelato recipes. Specifically, the milk powder helps to make the ice cream creamier by creating smaller ice crystals and also helps the gelato to melt more slowly. My milk mixture is cooked and ready, so I'm going to temper the egg yolks. I find the best way to temper the egg yolks is to drizzle the warm milk mixture down the inside of the bowl while slowly and continuously whisking. As I mentioned before, this method will prevent shocking the eggs, which may cause them to lump or curdle. And when you have added your hot milk to the eggs, give it a quick stir, and when you're done, pour the tempered custard mixture back into the saucepan and cook a second time. Again, you're cooking on very low heat. At this point, you want to stay near the stove because you should whisk it quite frequently. And if you have an instant read thermometer, you want the temperature to reach 170 degrees Fahrenheit or 76 to 77 degrees Celsius. I strongly suggest that if you don't have one, please do get an instant read thermometer. The one I have is not that expensive and it's amazing. When your custard base has reached the correct temperature, immediately remove your saucepan from the stovetop. As you can see, I've prepared an ice water bath and I'm going to place a saucepan into the large tub with all the ice. And then I'm going to pour in water so that the water is at or above the level of the custard. You'll notice that the custard is still quite runny, not thick like a traditional custard base for ice cream. That's because we're only using 3 egg yolks, which is half as many as would be used in an ice cream. This is the way I prefer to cool my custard because it's much quicker than putting it into the refrigerator. However, to get the best result and the fastest cooling, you have to whisk every 10 minutes or so. When you dip your finger in and it feels cool to the touch, it is at this point that you pour in the fresh lemon juice and then give everything a good stir to combine. The custard isn't quite cool enough, so just keep chilling for a while. And when I'm ready to make the gelato, and just before pouring into my ice cream maker tub, it's important to sift the custard through a fine mesh sieve. By sifting it, you will remove the lemon zest and you'll have a more velvety and creamy gelato. Now it's time to pour the chilled lemony gelato mixture into the pre-chilled tub of your machine. And don't forget, remember to follow your manufacturer's direction according to the type of machine you have. And after you've poured in all of your gelato mixture, if your machine has a setting, and if available, turn the dial to your gelato setting. My gelato is done, and as you notice, it's at the soft serve stage. It's really hard for me to wait for this gelato to be done, so I absolutely could not resist and scooped out some and just had to have a taste. It is so good. This lemon gelato has such a clean, appropriately tart lemon taste. Although it is tart, it's not sour. And unlike ice cream, it's very dense, so you really do only need 3 scoops for a very satisfying sized serving. Although this texture is okay, I want my gelato to harden a bit. At this point, I scoop out and transfer the gelato to my freezer-safe container, which has a snap-on airtight lid. And then I place this container into the freezer for 2 to 3 hours, or you can leave it overnight. Because our freezers are much colder than ice cream parlor refrigeration units, what I would like to suggest is you take your ice cream container out of the freezer, take off the lid, and let it rest for 10 minutes. Then all that's left to do is scoop, serve, and enjoy. I hope that you have found this Italian lemon gelato recipe something that you might like to try, and I sincerely hope you enjoy it. And leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this gelato recipe. Because I've had so many wonderful suggestions for different flavors of gelato, I will post at least one, possibly two more gelato recipes, which have been frequently requested. To everyone, thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video and all of your kind words of support and encouragement. Please come back when I post my next video, and until next time, have a very happy and healthy day. Cheers!